All right. This is Perspectives and Facts podcast. We are in the building. Got everything ready to go. Hopefully, the Wi-Fi does not cut off because we have some crazy rain right now going on in Jacksonville. It's like summer showers or something, bro. You know how the shit go. But man, we got some topics, got some things to talk about, man. Drake, Pusha T, the beef, everything's going on with the situation, the album rollout, and Pusha T coming out to pretty much say that Drake has been blocking and stifling song releases, album releases, singles, other people's album, basically just really violating this man's career and stifling the career since 2018 started Adidon. And the fact that the Clipse have had this album ready for over a year. This Clipse album has been ready for over a year. And instead of it coming out, because it had a Kendrick Lamar feature on it, apparently Def Jam, which is owned by Universal Music Group, which is owned by Lucian Grange, which is Drake's like best homie, Salute Wonder in the building, which is Drake's, dad, best homie, his Phil Jackson to his Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, whatever, pretty much told the Clipse to remove the Kendrick Lamar verse or edit it. Clipse said they weren't going to do it. So a lawyer pretty much from Def Jam dropped the Clipse and Pusha T as an artist and a group. And they had to pretty much buy themselves out of the deal, shop their album around for a good year. And then finally Roc Nation picked up, the management picked up the album and decided that they were going to push the project forward. And that's why we're going to get it in July. But regardless of the fact that we're going to get in July, and regardless of the fact that the album's finally coming out, the conversation we're going to have today is pretty much centered around the fact that Pusha T had his shit pushed back. You know what I'm saying? Pusha T was sabotaged by Drake. And as much as people want to say that, oh, Drake's doing the fight for the artist, everybody's grouping against UMG, this is showing us in real time. Rick Ross said his issue with Drake was when Drake stopped the Splash Brothers single, which was Pusha T. It wasn't Pusha T. It was Rick Ross, French Montana, and Drake. That song is fire. That record still has come out. Drake did not clear that record for French Montana. So that record never came out. And that was Rick Ross's main issue with Drake. On top of the fact that Steven Victor, Pusha T's manager and Pop Smoke manager, pretty much was told that if he doesn't remove Pusha T's verse off of Pop Smoke's first posthumous album, that they were going to basically not greenlight the Pop Smoke album. So you got all these records that never came out, all these songs, all these moments we never got. Rick Ross couldn't put Pusha T on Maybach Music 6. All these things we never got because Drake was stopping moments in hip hop, stopping people from dropping albums, dropping these songs. And it's terrible for hip hop, number one. Number two, since this was the case, it's funny that looking back at J. Cole, and when I look at J. Cole's situation, I feel like, wait a minute, you're in the industry, so you would know that Drake would be doing these things to other artists. You know what I'm saying? It would show that Drake would be unfair to the rest of the genre, right? And instead of J. Cole standing for what he portrays himself to be and what he says he believes in, which is fairness, which is loyalty, which is doing the right thing, which is hold yourself up to high values, you're playing and trolling with Drake on that song Evil Ways on For All the Dogs. You talking about freeing the slaves. You over here talking about bots, K-bots on Port Antonio. It's like you were hand in hand with Drake effing people over, and not saying you were, but you were complicit because you attached your brand and your name to Drake. I feel like that is disgusting. I feel like this is another example of Drake just being a lowlife and being a POS, to be honest, bro. And as much as I enjoy Drake's music here and there and enjoy the things he's done for the industry, there is a bigger issue at hand, and that bigger issue at hand is Drake abusing his power, thinking that when he battled Kendrick, the fix was going to be in, the same way it was with Pusha T. Because see, when Pusha T hit it, we never seen story of Adidon on streaming services. We never seen they actually filed a suit to get it removed from World Star Hip Hop. You know what I'm saying? It was definitely a moment where Drake seen Pusha T beat him, but was able to use the industry and was able to use the hands behind the scenes to kind of put the kibosh on Pusha T's momentum after story Adidon. What happened with Kendrick Lamar was not supposed to happen. What happened with Not Like Us and Meet the Grams and all these things, that went against everything that UMG thought, everything all the Drake D writers thought. It just really flipped things on its axis. So before we get to that, like I said, everybody hit the like button, guys. Hit the subscribe button, guys. We got 7 people here from YouTube. We got 12 people here from X. I like the numbers. We're gonna keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. Drake is a plant. He been a hoe. Yeah. I mean, dead ass, bro. I feel like Drake was always a plant. When I seen him, Jimmy, wheelchair Jimmy coming out with like the hardest rappers in 2008, 2009. I'm like, bro, obviously somebody paid this nigga to be here. FEJ, we need another body on the Star Report. You never disappoint. Hey man, I almost caught a body the other day when we had the blue hair dude come up there on the Star Report talking about what the hell were we talking about? Black fatigue, and he was talking about I forgot what the hell the dude was talking about, but it was like a Hispanic dude with blue hair who looked like 6'9". I almost caught a body right there, but I was trying to be cool about it, But outside of that, let's go get to some of these topics, man. Let's go ahead and get this first Pusha T interview up on the stream. And let me see, because honestly, I think what they were telling us earlier on StreamYard was that when we tried to do like a share screen situation on StreamYard, that it would like block it out. So what I'm going to do is make sure I am sharing the screen, but I'm going to go ahead and read off of my phone the same article. So just in case we do lose connection, I'm able to see it, and I'm not here just reading a goddamn article for like 5 minutes and nobody's in here, because I'll be nuts. Okay, so going to the GQ interview. Make sure you guys can follow along with me. Exit out of here. All right, Pusha T. Okay, so let me put myself back on the screen. So I think what's happening with StreamYard, because they sent a notification earlier, and they said that StreamYard was, matter of fact, let me read it out to you guys before I read this other GQ article. It pretty much broke down that we are currently experiencing an issue where layouts freeze after adding a second person to the stage. We are investigating and resolving a solution. So pretty much for this episode, I probably can't even like throw things on the screen without the Wi-Fi cutting off or the StreamYard not being able to run properly, because that's what happened earlier. So I'm just going to go ahead and just read from the article directly and just follow with me. Okay, so Clipse talk love, hate, and what rap game's been missing. After more than 15 years apart, read it right here. After more than 15 years apart, brothers Thornton, better known as Malice, and Pusha T are back together with a new Pharrell Williams produced album that ranks with their most potent product ever, and they're ready to go on record about Kanye, Drake, and the state of the rap game. It's a gray, rainy, and much colder than it should be day on this mid-May afternoon in Manhattan, and the brothers known to family and friends as Terrence and Gene into the music industry as a formidable Virginia rap duo, Clipse, are lounging in a Mercedes Sprinter, dodging raindrops, killing time. Let's get to the good part. Let's get to the good part. Okay. So pretty much once we get home, let me scroll down. Yeah, okay. Give me 2 seconds. My screen froze. My bad. Let me go. Okay, bam. Okay, we got it. Let me see. Okay, boom. We're here. Okay. Back to GQ interview to promote the upcoming album. Let God Sort Him Out. Pusha T brought up the lawsuit when discussing Kendrick Lamar in a feature that didn't make the album. He said they wanted me to ask Kendrick to censor his verse, which of course I was never doing. He said of Def Jam's parent company, Universal Music Group. Remember, Universal Music Group is the same company that Drake is suing right now. So how are you suing the same company that was actively stopping other artists from dropping songs, even having collaborations? Like, you're stopping collaborations between other artists that have nothing to do with you. That's nuts. We're going to keep reading, though. They wanted me to censor Kendrick Lamar's verse, which was, of course, I was never doing. He said of Def Jam's parent company, Universal Music Group. And they wanted me to take the record off. And so after a month of not doing it, Steve Gawley, the lawyer over there, was like, we'll just drop the clips. They got another wish as both the group and Pusha T himself were dropped from the label, according to GQ. He then added that he went through similar pushback over his unreleased verses on Rick Ross's Maybach Music 6 and Pop Smoke's posthumously released album and his track Paranoia after the release of Story of Adidon. So after the Story of Adidon, the summer of 2018, he had a feature with Rick Ross on Maybach Music 6. That got shelved. If you ever heard that leaked verse, it was fire. He was on Pop Smoke's Paranoia track, and they took him off of that. I'm going to read some more. If Drake's adamant to have a lawsuit, Pusha T said, it's only because he knows all the things they did to suppress everything that was happening around Adidon and the verses and the records and the things that were happening back then. I don't rate him anymore. The suing thing is bigger than some rap shit. I just don't rate you. Damn. It's like it cheapens the art once we got to have real questions about suing litigation. Like for what? For this? And this is what I be talking about when it comes to Drake, bro. Like, I don't want to hear nobody say Drake is hip hop. I want to hear nobody say, oh, Drake won the battle. I want to hear about bots. It's like, bro, how much proof you have to have that Drake has manipulated the rap game, stifled the rap game, stop moments, stop features, stop albums, stop tracks. He has been a cancerous a parasite on hip hop. If Drake can't eat off it, he don't want it to come out. He want another part of it. I think it's very bad. I think it's disgusting for the rap game. And I really do think we need to have a deeper conversation in why we get this type of information, especially a lot of you Drake stans, a lot of you Drake apologists, and really, quite frankly, you bitch ass niggas will sit back and watch this whole ass dude Drake do the most unmanly things and then still try to cape for him or still try to find a rhyme or a reason to make sense for such vulgar, unmanly, unmasculine, toxic behavior, bro. This nigga's a madman. You're really hurting the game of hip hop for what he is accused of doing. However, Pusha T feels no need to reignite his beef with Drake anytime soon. He said that I think everything that had been done, I don't think there was ever anything subliminal to be said ever again in life. He said his long-standing feud with the Toronto rapper, not just musically, like, bro, I was actually in Canada. I actually had a show and made it home. So I can't pay no attention to none of that. I did the dance for real. I'm not to come back to tiptoe around anything. Pusha added he would only engage again if he felt like it. Elsewhere in an interview, he talked about his long-standing relationship with Kanye West, amongst other things. But for the most part, like I said before, man, this album rollout, everything that's coming to fruition, and then we want to sit here and have to hear Pusha T basically saying that, bro, the album, like, they dropped us. They dropped the clips. They dropped the clips. How do you drop the clips, bro? Over Drake. And that's not even your label. Over UMG. Like, this is terrible. So Stephen Victor, this is Pusha T, the Clipse manager. He came out today and talked to Billboard Steven Victor on the insane amount of money it took for Pusha T, Clipse to leave and exit Def Jam. After Pusha T refused to change a guest verse from Kendrick Lamar on an up-and-coming Clipse album, he had to buy his way out of his record deal, his manager explains. And to be honest, they said this album was supposed to come out last year. They said the verse was already turned in before the beef started. But once the beef was kicking off and Clipse ready to drop their album, Universal Music Group, Def Jam, Drake, they were really preventing this from dropping. They were really, trying to stop this from coming out, going as far as dropping these guys. So they say early in 2024, Clipse prepared to play a new album for the label Def Jam. While these types of playbacks can be routine, this one was frightened with extra significance. The rap duo composed of brothers Pusha T and Malice had not released an album since 2009. Their comeback soon hit a speed bump with one song on the new album featured a guest verse from Kendrick Lamar, who spent the part of 2024 in a venomous back and forth with Drake. And as Pusha T recently told GQ's magazines, Lamar's presence on the Clipse, Kendrick Lamar's presence on the Clipse track made Def Jam's parent company, Universal Music Group, uncomfortable. They wanted me to ask Kendrick to censor his verse, which of course I was never doing, Pusha T told the publication, and then they wanted me to take the record completely off the album. Clipse refused to make the requested changes, leading to the unraveling of Pusha T's association with Def Jam. His label, home for over a decade, even though the rapper still owed Def Jam albums, he paid a 7-figure sum to get out of his deal. According to longtime manager Steven Victor, if you're an artist, your whole life is to create art and put it out, Victor says. If someone is telling you that you can't do that, or you have to do it within the confines of whatever box they put you in, that's like a creative jail. Reps for Universal Music and Def Jam did not respond to requests for comment. Pusha T has his own antagonistic history with Drake, which culminated in the scathing 2028 diss record, Story of Adidon. Victor says Pusha T's verses have been facing strict label scrutiny ever since. Meanwhile, the fallout between Lamar's battle with Drake is still ongoing. The latter has sued Universal Music Group, accusing the company of defamation over Lamar's track Not Like Us. Victor spoke to Billboard about the end of Pusha T's relationship with Def Jam and finding a new home for the rapper in Clipse at Rock Nation. So, I want to say this again, and I always found it funny that Drake can sit here and sue people for Not Like Us, but you dropped Family Matters and other songs that were clearly lying and calling a man a domestic abuser, but that was cool. But when you get cooked, it's not. I'm just saying, I don't get it. It's kind of crazy. We're going to go ahead and start reading the rest. When you start to hear objections to Lamar's verse from the Clipse album, where they're coming from, UMG has this department where they review lyrics. So it was that department. The real reason that department is there is to protect artists and the label from lawsuits and copyright infringement. They do it for all labels. Some labels adhere to it closer than others. So let's say you interpolate somebody else's song. That department is there to make sure that song is properly cleared. It's not meant to be, like you said, XYZ about XYZ artists, so we're not going to release that music. While you've been working with Pusha ever since the challenges of this department before, he says, in the beginning, no, but starting in 2018, yeah. That was the year Pusha released Story of Adidon. He put that on SoundCloud and it's never been officially released on streaming services. That was a way of getting around any internal objections. Part of the reason, yeah, to avoid also, we never actually properly cleared it. Pusha T mentioned 2 songs in his interview with GQ, Rick Ross' Made Rap Music 6 and Pop Smoke's Paranoia, where his verses were untimely cut, and that was because the same department scrutiny. His manager answered yes. What happened to the Pop Smoke song is that UMG thought that he was dissing Drake on that song. He wasn't, but they thought he was. Pop Smoke was released on my label, Victor, and obviously I managed Pusha. So they came to me and said, we're not going to put this out now unless you get Pusha to change his lyrics. Even though it has nothing to do with Pop Smoke, they're like, either he changes the lyrics or we're not putting the album out. What happened to freedom of speech? First of all, he's not dissing Drake, but how do you tell him to just change lyrics or you're not putting his album out? From what Pusha told GQ, this Kendrick verse, they're concerned about the new record is not dissing Drake either. Yeah, I don't know what concern is, but they're like, there's a line here we think is controversial. Kendrick needs to change it. or we're not putting it out. We're not going to ask him to change the verse. You guys are wrong. Stop looking at it that way. None of this makes sense. It got to the point where the conversation became, you can't keep stopping this guy from being able to put out his art. He's a rapper. Every time he puts out an album or a song, you can't listen to it to make sure he's not dissing somebody before you put it out. He has to think about what he's saying before he even saying it, in hopes that you might not think he's saying the wrong thing, who could live their life like that, especially not an artist. I went to him and said, let us put the song out somewhere else since you guys have an issue with it. You guys won't have to stand behind whatever complications come from it. We'll put the song out somewhere else and we'll license it back to you guys when the album comes out. Their response was, how about you just find somewhere else to put out the clips? Just pay us something and put it out somewhere else. My thing was, we can't do that. Pusha and the Clipse are one thing. At this point, he clearly doesn't trust you guys. You guys haven't been good stewards of his career. So they said, find another deal and let's figure out the business. They didn't drop us. They were like, pay us this money, which was an exorbitant amount of money, an ass ton of money, and we'll let you out the deal. That's what happened. We paid them the money, an insane amount of money. It wasn't like $200,000. It was a lot of money from an artist to come up with. They brought themselves out of the deal. How many solo albums did Push have left with Def Jams? His manager said, I don't really want to talk about that part. He had like 3 albums left. So you had to pay 7 figures to get out the deal. His manager said yes. How quickly were you able to get another deal in place? So like we said before, he got dropped. Not really dropped, but he had to literally buy his way out of a record deal, which is nuts and which is crazy. And I think is just egregious that all that the Clipse, Pusha T, Malice have done for hip hop and have been able to keep the relevancy, why don't they have the level of respect that they garner? Why are our greatest and GOAT MCs and rappers and artists still stifled to be supervised, micromanaged, and like neutered to a label's liking, to the point where we can't even get them to drop the real authentic art? And we wonder why we say hip hop is dying or music is dying, because our creativity is being policed, and being policed by industry politics, by people who don't want to do anything but take from the industry. So the question from Billboard to his manager was, how quickly were you able to get another deal in place? His manager said it happened simultaneously with getting out of the previous deal. It took us a couple weeks to figure out the paperwork. But again, it was a lot of money. We kept going back and saying, we can pay you this amount of money and part of profit. Can we figure out a deal where we pay you as the guys that make the money from the new release, instead of coming up with this large sum of money right now? They said, no, we want our money and we want some of the profits. So these niggas said, we want the front end and a piece of the back end. That is crazy. That's crazy. They're basically saying that we don't think you're going to come up with the money and we're going to pretty much shove her out. They were just running a hard bargain. DZ Redline in the building was popping, man. Was popping, bro. Was popping, man. And hey, drop your new single in the chat on YouTube. We're going to pin it to the comments and we're going to drop it, pin it to live. Back to, yeah. So the manager said, once I knew that we had it in principle, a deal in place with Def Jam to leave, I got on the phone with Jay-Z. I was like, look, this is what's happening. We've been talking about doing XYZ together. There's an opportunity here to do this album. What do you think? He hit me back right away like, you just made my day. Let's figure it out, what we need to get it done. I went back to Push and said, listen, Jay's going to give us a very artist-friendly deal. We get to own the masters, and they'll put the marketing power of Rock Nation behind it. You guys are friends. It's a great outcome. We worked out the deal in less than 24 hours. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to say this really quick. As much as people want to come at Rock Nation and Jay-Z, which is very credible, which is deserved because they do a lot of slimy and a lot of grimy stuff, I still say that as much as people love Kanye and shame Hove like a good guy, bad guy, did Kanye do anything to help Pusha T? Did Kanye front Pusha T the money? No. Hove did. Hove got the labels. Hove got the backing. So at the end of the day, these artists, are they going to, you know, and I don't want to talk too much about Kanye, but it's like Kanye sits around here and acts like everybody has to be beholden to him. But honestly, yay, I mean, you have a lot of money, but how much power do you have to usurp labels and people stifling what I got going on? And I think that's why you got to give Hove some credit. And I'm not going to give him too much credit, but being able to have enough power to move around and help artists like a Pusha T or like a Lil Wayne or some of these legacy acts that deserve better treatment from these labels. And Hov was able to come in, front some money or put money behind marketing to make our legends look in the light that we should be able to see them in. So I will say one thing about Jay-Z, you know, they want to say he did this, he did that. If it's him, Drake, Puff, Dr. Dre, whatever, I got to say Jay-Z might be one of the most empowering artists of this last 10, 15 years once he got that bag. So we're going to go back and read the rest of this. Once I knew we had a principal, oh yeah, I read that part. You had to pay Def Jam a lump sum of money to get out and also give a cut of what you make to new record, off the new record. Yes, we had to give them a cut also, which is insane. But the good thing about it is that Pusha is in control of his future. Now he has 3 deals in 3 different places. At the beginning of his solo career, we put out records independently with Mass Appeal. He owns those records. Mass Appeal is also Nas owns that, or he is, I think, majority partner in Mass Appeal. So salute to Nas and Hov for having leverage to allow a lot of the artists that came after them to put out their music and have stable careers off of the decisions they made at an executive level. So salute to those 2 guys, Jay-Z and Nas, for bossing up in hip hop and just opening doors for artists like Pusha T and the Clipse. They said then we did the deal with Good Music, Def Jam. When Kanye left Def Jam, so Kanye worked out an agreement where we worked out an agreement with Kanye where he gave Pusha his masters back on Good Music side, and now we're in this deal with Jay. So salute to Kanye West, Jay-Z, and Nas for having their own imprints and their own labels and letting, you know, Push put out his music independently, giving him his masters back. You know, it's a lot of paying it forward and doing it right by Pusha T, by these artists, not the labels, but the artists. And to continue the read, Push is having way more success creatively, financially, and professionally than he did at the peak of his career, which is when the Clipse Grinding came out. Smart and steady wins the race. What appeals to you about taking the independent route? His manager said, I still think there's a place for major record labels, but if you can get away with being at a place that understands the culture that you're in a lot more, moves more nimbly, and you can get the same resources that you would from a major label. Why would you go to a major, especially the way the deals are structured? You can get everything and more from somebody that not only looks like you, but behaves like you, has the same mindset as you. You're not dealing with layers and layers of corporate bureaucracy and nonsense. All of these artists are not treated equally in the major record label system. And now they're asking another question he's going to answer. One thing you still hear about the majors is that the extent that radio matters, they still have their music there. They also have an international presence that's hard to replicate. Cap, his manager says, Cap, I call Cap. I've done it on a smaller scale and a larger scale. All you need is a team. You can hire and you can outsource a great international team, a great radio team. For some artists, it's definitely more beneficial to be a part of a major record label, but you don't need to be a part of a major record label to find success, which I think is true. The right team, the right vision, a lot of the same people you got to pay to put things out. If you know what you're doing, you can definitely pop off on a smaller label. Obviously, Pusha T and Def Jam had a long relationship. It's tough to see it in this way. Push has been signed to Def Jam for almost 15 years. We've been there for a long time. We've seen different regimes come and go, but at the end of the day, if a relationship is not working for whatever reason, and it doesn't make any sense to stay there, regardless how much you might like or feel comfortable, and I don't know the amount of attention, focus, and detail that we were looking for on this album rollout that would have happened there anyways. Now the question is the start of a potentially closer relationship between Steven Victor and Roc Nation. And as I say so, there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. Focus right now, it's definitely on this Clipse album. And I think that was a definite good interview. I like the fact that, like I said, Pusha T was able to get what he had to get out. And then Steven Victor came behind him and got that out too. And I really wish I can share my screen because I have a tweet by Pusha T because in that same time, Pusha T and Young Thug was on a song together. And I think Young Thug thought Pusha T was saying something about Drake, and Young Thug came out was like, hey, you know, I'm not in the middle of that. I don't think you should be dissing Drake on a record that you own with me. I think that's weird. And Pusha T dropped this tweet. And this was in 2020. He called it out. Pusha T added Young Thug, say, hey, at Young Thug, couple things. Don't feel bad. Nobody knew what the verse was about. The label heads that stopped it didn't even know why. They only assumed because he told them, the same way he told about the Ross Maybach 6 verse. And if he'll tell record executives about rap verses, God only knows what else he'll tell. I don't deal in police work, police rappers, or police niggas. That Stephen Victor interview revealed a lot about Drake and about how Universal Music Group was protecting Aubrey, man. I'm telling you, it makes so much sense why Aubrey felt untouchable and felt like he could do whatever he want. Lucian was protecting him with the labels. The way I see it is the same way Lucian Grange was protecting Drake, was the same way Jay Prince was protecting Drake. He was getting protected in the streets, and you getting protected on the songs. And I just think that it's really messed up that you guys made the Clipse pay 7 figures to get out of a deal. You stopped, like I said, so many songs that were supposed to come out with Pusha T. The momentum he had, especially after the Daytona album, Pusha T really should be on a different level in hip hop. I think we have noticeably seen that shift in that stiflation in his career. Like I said before, man, Def Jam has a long history of screwing artists. Jeremiah had a tweet in 2015. You remember the artist Jeremiah, the singer, said, Def Jam, y'all don't even deserve my voice. This 2015, December 13, 2015, tweeted, there's actually no CDs in the stores to even buy. That's the main point. Each Best Buy was shipped 6 to 7 copies a piece. Crazy. That is crazy. And now that I'm reading this, the excerpts of this article says it all. I mean, this is honestly, if you expected, and this is from the GQ article, so this is just more information. If you expect the album last summer, the brothers sympathized, so did they. Pusha says they felt confident, proud, and assured of themselves when they presented the music to Def Jam. The label loved what they heard, except the Kendrick Lamar guest verse on the thunderous Chains and Whips, the final version of the song that Pharrell teased at his Louis Vuitton runway show, and the song Pusha says was the first to come out of their sessions. Don't be fooled by Pusha's interviews appealing for one last guest verse and the Twitter jokes that he went to the GNX tour date to physically walk Kendrick to the near studio to get a K-Dot verse. If you did your homework, that verse was turned in a while ago. But after the beef between the two biggest artists that resulted in the still ongoing lawsuit from Drake, Def Jam's parent company, UMG, blanched the antagonistic optics of the two Drake's biggest enemies, Lincoln on Wax, Pusha T and Kendrick Lamar. Pusha T calls their apprehension stupid, primarily because none of the bars in Kendrick's otherwise excellent verse could really be perceived as a shot or subliminal. It does, however, contain the stellar line, therapy taught me how to open up, but it also showed me I don't give a fuck. Pusha can barely contain his disgust, recounting how the stalemate with Def Jam played out. They wanted me to ask Kendrick to censor his verse, which of course I was never doing, he explains, and then they wanted me to take the record off. And so after a month of not doing so, Steve Gawley, the lawyer over there, was like, well, we'll just drop the Clipse. But that can't work because I'm still there solo. So if you let us all go, it'll be cool. So sure enough, Def Jam eventually agreed to release the Clipse and drop Pusha as a solo artist, freeing the duo up to shop for a new home with finished Clipse album and plenty more music in their pockets. Ultimately, Push says the endeavor was gratifying. It felt good to even see how other labels were buying for the project. Now, as they teased last week with the picture in front of the labels playing nostalgia, they've ended up at Jay-Z's Rock Nation, where they feel fully supported and energized. I think that synergy, just in a rap sense, is going to speak volumes, Pusha said on the partnership. Yeah, man, it's like I said, we got to salute Hove a little bit. But, you know, when we were talking about Jeremiah, like I said, they pretty much messed up his album release. He got his, CDs back in the day undershipped. And this was happening with a lot of artists in the 2010s. And now we're going to August Alsina, another Def Jam artist. His album got shelved for 5 years and he ended up leaving in 2020. This is a tweet from August Alsina, November 13th, 2017. Somebody said, hey, yo, August, where's the album at, bro? 2017 was a tough year. I need some of your newest work. I'm going through a lot of shit. He answered, I would love to put my album out, but Def Jam is holding me hostage because the system is not up and running until next year. So they basically don't exist. The label is just trash. I'll release free music soon, but that has been told to hold up, tell them to free me and the album. It's 2017. Then we got Big Crit. Despite having one of the most respected discographies of 2010, it was common knowledge that Def Jam had absolutely no clue how to market Big Crit to the point where he felt like he was independent, even though he was signed. Hold on, and let me see if I can get this signed by the sports. So, yeah, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, everybody hit that like button, man. Hit that like button, subscribe. I'm gonna try to share the screen. If I can't, I'm gonna try to drop the link in here. I'm gonna try to share the screen. I will hopefully StreamYard allows us to share the screen. Because I have a lot of good stuff right here that we want to run the show with. So let me see if they're gonna allow us to do it. All right.
Crit on the record though.
Yeah, Big Crit. That's actually the homies. Actually a label mate. Johnny, that's Johnny Shapes artist.
Oh,
as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's.
All right, cool. Yeah. So yeah, StreamYard is definitely not allowing any, like, we can't play any videos. So that's what I just realized. So StreamYard is still down with playing like clips, videos, anything that's like can help with the show pretty much, or any type of footage. They're just not gonna let us play it. So I just wanted to see if they were or if they fixed it. Gonna keep rolling. Yeah, they screwed over Big Crit. They screwed Crit. Vince Staples, they screwed him over. Vince Staples said people weren't trying to hear this during the Drake and Kendrick beef. Vince Staples said he had gripes with Def Jam and Universal Music Group, and they know very well last year that he needed to be out, and now he's free independent, but he definitely need to get out. Joe Budden released something saying that he nominated, had platinum albums, and they shelved his second album. So all these artists, you got LL Cool J saying they fucked up his deal. You got other rappers saying that you got Frank Ocean had to get out of his deal. They even messed up with LL Cool J. So you just have a long line of Def Jam just really crapping on their artists. And I just think it's terrible. He did say some things about Pusha T. I mean, he did say some things about Kanye also, when he was basically saying that Kanye has like a love-hate bromance with Drake, and he just doesn't like the fact that, if he got a problem with him, you can't be going back and forth like one day you cool with this nigga, one day you not. So I feel Pusha T on that shit too, man. And apparently he said he don't respect that nigga as a man. He don't respect him as somebody who, they had personal conversation. You just don't fuck with him. So I'll say this before I end the show out, right? And I do feel like this. Drake has ruined the music industry in a few ways. He signed a lot of folks to his label that had a lot of talent and never used these guys. He put on artists by using a feature just for a good portion of those careers to go absolutely nowhere. You got to think about all the times Drake got on the feature, blew up a song, and those artists never had seen the light of day. He's, being one of the biggest artists in the world, to rappers at that, to have a ghostwriter. You know what I'm saying? To have a ghostwriter in hip hop and then lie about it is crazy. You know what I'm saying? He blurred the lines between pop and hip hop way too much. He never drew a line in the sand. He dominated the charts with formulaic songs that were repetitive as fuck. He was culture appropriator. He has selective engagement with beefs that sends subtle shots towards specific artists and only beef with folks he feels like he can beat. He's suing the label, but also uses the label to damage other people's careers. He makes a lot of quantity, but he does not drop a bunch of quality, and he's just very inauthentic, man. And as much music that I like of Drake's, it's just crazy that it's crazy that he's pretty much came to this point and is doing what he's doing. Deleted notes. Okay. Yeah, it's just crazy that we got to this point to where not only is he doing what he's doing, but I just feel like Drake is very bad for hip hop, bad for the genre. And I think if anything happened, we won as hip hop fans, as Clipse fans, as Malice, Pusha T fans of Coke Rap, fans of Pharrell. If we get this album, if you like what that first track is, and we feel like that first song they're going to drop is a reflection of what this album is going to be, this is going to be probably the best album of the summer and probably one of the best albums this year. And if it meets to expectations, I think that this album is probably going to be nominated for a Grammy. And it would be so dope to see the Clipse win a Grammy for Album of the Year 15 years after they retired. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I got something I need to get done. I got something I need to do. It's kind of funny. I'm about to sign off and more people piling in here, but it's cool. You guys have a great night. I'm going to come back tomorrow because I got some Desiree Perez information that we're going to cook up. And you guys enjoy your night. Enjoy the stream. We're going to be clipping this up too. And see you guys later, man. Peace out.